Hello, this will be a video announcement for week 3. Now for week 3, you have 3 tasks to complete. The first is you're going to be creating a cover letter. The second task is a resume. And the third is you're going to be completing your grammar quiz 2. Now, as far as completing these assignments, I always encourage you, as always, to look at our online weekly checklist. When you look at our checklist this week, this is what you're going to see. Now, as far as completing your 2 writing assignments, the cover letter and the resume, the first thing I'd like for you to do is just to inform yourself more on just the job search as a whole. You know, I have several resources. If you look underneath Module 1, and again, this is below week 3, you're going to see I have several resources for you, okay? Trends change in job searching and also in professional writing, so you need to be informed. If it's been a while since you have searched for a job or written a cover letter or resume, I really encourage you to see the most current information out there about the job search and also cover letter and resume writing. You may want to check out, again, these resources, letters A, the job search and application, also B, reading and using job ads. These are from Al Purdue, and Al Purdue is one of the leading writing websites, and it's very beneficial as far as learning the most current trends in professional writing as well. Also, the job applications from Al Purdue as well. It has actually some examples of job applications and gives you some instruction on how to fill out those applications, whether they're the traditional hard copy ones that you actually get from the business and you fill out, or they're the online ones where you type in your information and you submit the application online. Okay, and again, for your first writing assignment this week, you're going to be creating a cover letter. And this is a cover letter, which is going to be essentially a cover letter that introduces your resume. But you're going to submit your resume and your cover letter as 2 separate assignments. But obviously, if you were, applying for a job, your cover letter acts as sort of a title page or cover page for your resume. So you need to get into the habit of always writing a cover letter with your resume. Now, as far as the resources, I think that you'll find really helpful. I mean, obviously in our textbook sections, I'd like for you to look at 12.1 and 12.4, but these other resources that I have mentioned, I think you'll find helpful as well. You're going to notice underneath Module 2, the cover letter, okay, I have several resources. Probably the best are from Al Purdue, though. They have like just kind of instructions on how to write it. Also, the overall formatting and organization. It goes through each section and paragraph of the cover letter. This particular handout, letter D, I actually created this. I would like for you to print out letter D, the cover letter overview handout, so you can kind of look at the paragraph by paragraph structure of my expectations for your own cover letters. I have 6 examples. These examples actually are of a cover letter and a resume. Because normally speaking, if you send in an application, you're going to submit the cover letter and the resume together. So I wanted you to see physically how this looks with the cover letter and the resume. So you have 6 different examples. I'm not saying you have to look at all of them, but these are examples from many different scenarios and job positions. You may actually find a job position that's very similar to your future profession. So you may want to check those out. Now, as far as submitting these, I would encourage you to compose your cover letter in either Microsoft Word, Microsoft 360, or Google Docs. Now, the great thing about Microsoft Word, and I'm going to go into my Microsoft Word and show you, if you go into Microsoft Word and you go to create, you can actually type in cover letter, okay? Now, you did this with the business letter last week, but I want you to know you can do it as well with the cover letter. There's these really cool templates for cover letters. And what's good about them is there's places where you can place a photo of yourself. I'm just going to tell you right now in our current atmosphere professionally, visual is very much on trend. So you may want to have a photograph of yourself here, okay? Now, obviously, if you choose this template and you decide not to have a photo, don't keep this photograph of this complete stranger on your template. And that's one thing you have to be very careful of. If you use these templates, when you click on them, make sure that you delete any information that you're not going to use. You don't want to have like city and state or Twitter if you're not going to have that information on here. So you can click these and again, just fill out the information. You just click create. And again, you can change that photo. If you don't like it, you can delete it, or you can actually put your own photo in place of it. Just again, make sure that you fill out the information and delete anything that is irrelevant, okay? Now, as far as the structure for the cover letter, these templates are really, really helpful, but you don't necessarily have to use them. You can still follow the guidelines of a basic business letter. And again, you wrote some business letters last week, but you may want to look at these examples. Just for example, I'm going to click on example 2, and you can use these as a guide, okay? Again, you can just use a Google Docs format if you want, where you have the day that you actually write the letter. You know, again, you have your physical address, okay? You have the recipient, you know, the business in which you're applying to, who you're addressing, okay? And again, if you don't know who you're addressing, you can put to whom it may concern or dear hiring manager. Again, be formal. Normally speaking, you don't want a huge cover letter. I would say as far as at length, I advise y'all to do only up to 3 paragraphs. However, this person did like actually 4. I think that's pretty lengthy. I would say about 3 paragraphs as you're going through discussing, you know, first you want to open up with complimenting the business and why the business is a place where you would like to work. Then in your second paragraph, you go into discussing why you would be a good fit with the business, why you have the educational and professional qualities to work well as a team with this particular business or corporation. And then you go into your closure, where you obviously look forward to hearing more from this particular company and maybe even get a possible interview and have your contact information. Use these examples, again, kind of as a guide of how you can set up your own cover page. But as I mentioned, for all of those examples, you can go and you can see not just their cover letters, but if you keep scrolling, it's going to actually show you as well the resumes, okay? So you may want to look at those for the resume section as well. And when you submit your cover letter, you can submit it if it's a Microsoft Word document or a Google Docs into our submission, which is letter L, okay? Now, your second writing assignment is your resume, okay? Now, resumes, again, there are trends that have changed, okay? Now, again, what's really cool is you can go into Microsoft Word, okay, just like I did with the cover letter, and you can search resume templates. Like if you go here and do resume, it has templates. And you can find a template that's very similar to the template you used for your cover letter, okay? And again, you can create this and fill in your information, okay? And make sure always, probably the most common mistake that I see with students' resumes is you forget that you need to list your education and also your professional background, your jobs. Make sure it's reverse chronological. You want to discuss your most recent or current education and also profession first. And then you go backwards, back in time. Some students don't realize that you need to go from most current to least to the past, okay, as far as with that information, okay? One thing I always like to mention, if you have a stronger educational background, maybe you've gone to school more than you've actually worked, then put your education first. However, if you have a stronger professional background, like you've worked more, you have more professional experience than you do education, you may want to flip this and put your work experience first. You want your strengths to be first on your resume. So if your strengths are your work experience and not your education, then you need to flip it, okay? All right, now you're going to notice you can use the templates or you can just type in the information. I have some other resources, and you'll notice on the checklist, I mentioned those very clearly underneath the resume section. There's several websites. Al Purdue, as I mentioned, had really good information about the cover letter. They have good information about the resume as well. You can click on these. What I love about Al Purdue is it gives you section by section the contact information, the education, the work section. This handout G is also awesome. I did not make this, but I'm going to pull it up. I give this to my Comp 1 students also. And you're going to notice with this particular handout, what I love about it is it gives you just basic guidelines and rules. This was written by Lisa Warsh, who actually works within kind of, cultural anthropology, human services, and sociology majors. So she works in human services where people learn to actually, go out and hire people or be hired in the field of human services or human resources. So she breaks it down section by section. Out Purdue does as well, but you may want to print out this handout. It goes over each section like the heading. What are you going to put under your physical information, like your address? Maybe you're, going to be attending a university and you have your university address, but also you have your permanent address, and this is your email information. You may also have a home phone or a cell phone that you need to add. Also, you may just have one address, and that's what it's going to look like at the top of the page. Also, your education. This is how you can set up your education from your most current to least current education. You may even have some interesting educational background, like study abroad experience. You may have a second language you need to place in there. Work experience, it shows you how to situate that. Also, volunteer experience is something that you can put on. Sometimes you have valuable professional experience in unpaid volunteer work. You need to mention that in your resume. Also, skills and interests are important. It shows, again, what computer skills you have, if you have any certifications. Again, if you're bilingual, trilingual, mention that information, okay? If you have any affiliations with organizations, you need to mention that, okay? And also, references. If you're asked to give references of individuals who can recommend you for the job, this gives you the structure of how you do so. Also, at the end of this handout, it gives you a checklist and also kind of do's and don'ts in resume writing, as well as examples. You're going to notice there are several examples. Resumes really need to be between 1 to 1.5 pages long. So look at these as a guide, and you're going to notice there are examples like crazy in this particular handout. You've got 5 different resume examples. So look at these as a guide if you can. Now I'm going to go back to our page. So again, you're going to be submitting your cover letter on Wednesday of this week, your resume on Thursday. And again, your resume you're going to submit right here. Again, you can use Microsoft Word or Google Docs, okay? If you have any questions, I'll absolutely answer those. Now, you're going to notice on the checklist, I do have some other resources that are optional. If you are applying for a job, you really need to know kind of the etiquette in the professional workplace, what you need to do. You need to know about a follow-up letter and also a thank you letter. So you're going to notice on Canvas here, I have resources. You're not writing a follow-up or thank you letter this week, but I want you to know about them, because if you are applying for a job, you need to be writing these if you really want that job. After you send in your application and cover letter and resume, you may want to send a follow-up letter or email to check and see the status of that job. After you interview for a job, it's very courteous to send a thank you letter to the employer or even several employees, thanking them for them taking their time out of their busy schedule to meet with you. That just shows you're a very cordial, respectful person, and that's the kind of workers that they want to have, okay? Now, as far as your last assignment this week, you do have another grammar review. It's Grammar Review 2, okay? And your Grammar Quiz 2 is going to be on Sunday, February 28th. Now, many of you have an issue with run-ons and comma splices, okay? I have unfortunately seen those in many of your writings, whether the online discussions or the emails that you sent. So we need to resolve those major, punctuation errors. So make sure you look at all the information that I have listed here underneath the Grammar Review 2. I have a video lecture. It's divided into 2 sections where I explain in detail what a run-on is, what a comma splice is, and the different ways to correct them. If you have had run-ons or comma splices in your writings, because I highlight them usually in pink, you need to look at these videos. Also, check out this handout. It talks about the ways to correct them. I also have other videos from Khan Academy and Schmoop that are somewhat humorous. If you're scared to use semicolons, you may want to check out this letter H and print it out. And again, I have some self-tests that you may want to take. Just like last week you had self-tests, you can do them here. But if you just have errors with commas, check out these comma videos. And there's an interactive quiz on commas. Make sure that you take those self-tests before you take your grammar quiz. And just like last week, you can take your grammar quiz 3 times, and the highest grade will be the grade that you're given. I look forward to reading your assignments this week, and if you have any questions, please contact me. Have a wonderful week 3. Thanks.